la descentralización dentro de la centralización. Proyectos del mundo real o incluso gobiernos que quieren utilizar nuestra tecnología descentralizada. ¿Cómo es esto, bra? ¿Quieres saber un poco más? Quédate que te lo cuento. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Bla y sí, yo siempre lo digo, al final, si queremos una adopción masiva, lo que vamos a tener son proyectos del mundo real, vamos a tener instituciones que van a contratar servicios blockchain, depende para lo que les conviene también, porque ellos al final, bueno, van a buscar lo que es mejor para ellos, lo que es mejor para crecer como empresa, como país, como quieras verlo. En el día de hoy te traigo MANDALA CHAIN. MANDALA CHAIN es uno de esos proyectos que ha venido gracias al buen trabajo de un head ambassador. Quiero que conozcas este proyecto porque este proyecto está trabajando muy estrechamente con un gobierno, más en concreto con el gobierno de Bali en Indonesia, y nos va a explicar por qué eligen Polkadot, por qué a pesar de ser un proyecto que busca ayudar a los gobiernos, bueno, seguramente lo has visto, van a buscar esta financiación descentralizada en el ecosistema que nos da Polimec, y cuáles son sus planes a futuro para integrar más países, más gobiernos dentro de la blockchain, dentro del ecosistema de Polkadot. Vamos a ello.
Thanks for coming to the channel, Michael. I have a little questions for you. It's who is Michael and how arrives to the Polkadot ecosystem and why to found the project from MANDALA CHAIN?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Australia, but I've been living in Bali, Indonesia for probably the last 7 or 8 years. I've been involved in blockchain since about 2017 is when I think bought my first bit of Bitcoin. And then I was working kind of like a digital nomad, working at a consulting company, traveling around Asia. And then obviously COVID happened and that killed all of that sort of business. And so then while we were all in lockdown in Indonesia, I just went full-time crypto. And so just started going deep down the rabbit hole. I learned about like many different projects and then realized, hey, there's some education which is maybe missing for people in Indonesian, like the language. And so I found a couple of local friends and we started Republik Rupiah on Republik DAO. And Republic is just like the way of like Indonesia is like the Republic of Indonesia, but we thought it was a good word because it also means like community, decentralization. And so we started creating content online and boom, it took off. We were able to create a really large community. To cut the long story short, eventually we met up with Anta, who is the co-founder of Mandala. He's a local Balinese guy. And he had been building all this really cool tech. Like he built wallets and like NFT marketplaces, and he'd been messing around with NFTs like for real world assets. And then we kind of realized that together we had all of the connections that we needed for like a really great project. And so then when we were deciding like where should we build, well, my team had already covered Polkadot extensively, and so we were lovers of Polkadot before it launched. We were really bullish on all of the parachains when the parachains first started coming out, and we watched that whole cycle of like the parachains. And so we thought, well, we can go and try and like mess around in the ETH ecosystem, but that seems to be very crowded. And then when we looked at some of the use cases of working with government, which we'll talk about in a minute, the Polkadot tech stack was perfect. It's exactly what we needed. So yeah, that's kind of like my short backstory. I'm sure we can go into a little bit more of it, but yeah, kind of got in crypto and then built a community and then realized, hang on, we can use this community to build some really cool tech.
So you say that you are many people in the team from different teams, we can say. Which is the what makes Republik DAO, what makes in this case Mandala Foundation by separate for later make a synergy together?
Yeah, so we tried to copy the same model. So we had Republik DAO, and then we had Baliola, which is a tech company, a local Indonesian tech company, which was founded by Anta, the other founder of Mandala. So we had these two communities already, his tech company and the DAO. Republik Rupiah is like a media company that speaks Indonesian content, but is like Republik DAO. And together we thought, okay, well, we've got everything that we need here. So we copied the same model as Polkadot. So we made the foundation, which is Mandala Chain Foundation, which is the same as the Web3 Foundation. And then Baliola works like Parity to provide all the tech services. We copied the exact same model from Polkadot. And then Republik DAO is kind of like the community, the first community wave of people that have adopted like this chain, and will be the first, I guess, users, mainly Indonesian, but we've now opened it up to English speakers as well. And we're creating like lots of English activities for Republik DAO also.
Wow. For me, it's crazy when you talk about the decentralization, okay? When you say to work with the government from Bali, but you apply to the decentralized fundraising like Polimec. Why this?
Yeah, so I guess that's what the first thing that we wanted to, I guess, clarify, and we probably still need to clarify that. Like, so Mandala Chain is not owned by the government. Like, we are a decentralized network. We're permissionless. Anyone can come and build on Mandala. And we like to think of like a blockchain as kind of like a shopping mall. So if you've ever been to a really large shopping mall, there's lots of stores inside the mall. And normally each shopping mall has like a large department store or a supermarket that is the main store of the mall. Well, for our chain, the main store to start with is the Indonesian government. So they wanted a place to build applications. Baliola, Anta's tech company, said we can build some of these applications for you. And they think, yeah, this is great. We need a blockchain where we put it on. And so that's where Mandala Chain was born. So the government is the first use case on Mandala Chain, but we're a permissionless, decentralized network. And the reason why we wanted to go to Polimec is because the government doesn't own the chain. They have no like token interest. We wanted the community to really be the ones to actually have first access to it. So this is a community project. We wanted everyone to be able to get in at the same level as like the early people, like the early adopters. And so, yeah, that's why Polimec.
Yeah, that's crazy because sometimes the people think that if you work with a government, you are selling all information to the government, and sometimes it's not like this. It's because you will to provide an service to them. So Six talked with me about the G6 network, but I don't understand at the end all of this technology. You can explain use more easy for the end user, not for a developer user. What is this and why is different with the other projects?
Yeah, so it goes back to why we chose Polkadot in the first place. So when you're working with someone like a government or a like big company like a bank or something like that, we obviously want this to be a decentralized network, but they have elements of their business which needs to still be semi-centralized. And so how do you do that? How do you create a decentralized network with centralized elements? Well, we don't want to risk exactly what you said, people's data being leaked to the government or anything like that. So Mandala kind of works like the middle ground, where Polkadot is the base block space that we have, and XEM is going to be how we transport this value around the internet. Mandala sits in the middle, Mandala Chain. And then what Mandala Chain does is we have Mandala Enterprises, which builds these custom blockchains for government use. And so these custom blockchains will be maybe permissioned and private, but what they will do is that they will settle all of their transactions on Mandala Chain. So the way that Mandala Chain kind of works like the Relay Chain does inside the Polkadot ecosystem, but instead of working for other parachains, some of these government departments will all have their own sort of private chain, which will all settle on Mandala Chain, and that's the public space. So they might store their private transactions on their own permission chain, but all of the public interactions will happen on the Mandala L1, and then we settle everything on Polkadot. So G6 provides a really great solution where they provide hardware for private chains. And so they've been a really helpful and useful friend of ours. They've got a great business themselves. So they set up great hardware for some of these permission chains where they can have the security that they need, but at the same time, when they need to interact with the public, it all happens on a public blockchain, Mandala Chain.
Oh, okay. One question I have is, right now you are working with the Indonesian government, but in the future you will work with other governments. Which do you think that will be the future for Mandala Chain?
Yeah, this is a great question because we have some really exciting meetings which we've been having lately. News has spread really quickly about what we've been building. And, we're very close now to mainnet going live and the token coming live. We're very close to all of that. And so we've already built like a lot of use cases for the Indonesian government, but this is just like our test example. So once we've shown what we can do with Indonesia, because Indonesia is a really large country, India has the most population in the world, then China, then the USA, then Indonesia, number 4 in the world. And so we want to show what we can do with a really large country and a really large government, and then bring that to other countries. And we've already had 2 extras who have come to us and asked us to build a test solution for them. And so we cannot name them yet because they haven't wanted to go public with it yet. But we're already talking with 2 more countries, and we're excited to bring on many more.
The solution that you will provide to the other 2 countries will be the same that you are doing right now with Indonesia?
Similar, but everyone has a different use case and a different need. So, for example, we're doing lots of like digital identity with Indonesia because they've tried to be doing this for 10 years, but they keep getting hacked. And so they realize that they need blockchain. And so we will have like this decentralized network with, beautiful security from the Polkadot relay chain. And so we can create them a really secure digital identity so Indonesian citizens can interact with like hospitals and banks and voting and who knows what comes from it. But other countries may have like specific use cases. And some of the ones that we've been talking to are very DeFi focused. So Mandala Chain will have a lot of like DeFi action. And the second country that we're talking to, that's their main reason. They want to build some specific DeFi infrastructure that their citizens can use because they've got utilized banking in their country. And so they said, rather than trying to build out these big, vast banks, let's just go straight to DeFi, which is really cool that like countries have this understanding and this vision.
It's crazy because this open to the team from Mandala Chain, integrate to the real world assets, to the DeFi, for example. I think that it's like the best way to integrate these things from the investments from the real world to the ecosystem blockchain. And why Indonesia, or why start in this part of the world and not maybe in Europa?
So I think people like Europe and like North America already have very established like banking systems. They have very established governments. Corruption is very low in many of these places. It still exists, but it's still very low compared to some other places in the world. And so I feel like some of the developing countries are in the perfect spot to adopt this technology because they can skip some of the things which they don't have. And I'll give you an example. So in Africa, a lot of the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure was very underdeveloped. They had telephones, but they didn't have like a lot of the cabling that they needed for early stages of dial-up internet. So instead of like a big company having to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to build internet cables everywhere, they just skipped it and went to 5G into the mobile phones. And so they could leapfrog over a technology which they were underdeveloped in. And so because Europe is very developed already, it's hard for a developing country in Southeast Asia to catch up to Europe. So instead of trying to play catch up, they just skip it. And while Europe and the USA are still arguing over laws around blockchain, the developing world is saying, okay, we want it and we're just going to go to it first, like what El Salvador did. So this is why it's very interesting that these countries are in the perfect situation because they can take advantage of the technology first this time instead of being late.
Okay, that's crazy. So Michael, I think that for me it's okay. You want to say something about Mandala?
Yeah, just for everybody who is interested, we would love you to come get involved. We want other communities. We want this to be a global project. We're building some very cool things, and especially to have this much interest from governments and from business is not normal in some places, other places in the world. And so if you're a developer or if you're a blockchain user, we welcome you to come and participate in Mandala ecosystem because, we're very lucky to live in this part of the world where we are being welcomed. And so we really want people to come get involved in our Discord, come follow us on Twitter. We'll have our testnet live and our questing campaigns live next week. Our Polimec round will start shortly. Our token generation event is happening very, very soon. So like, come get involved. We would love to have everyone from Europe, from South America, come get involved.
I want to see Mandala Chain in some event in Europe or in America. It's necessary, yeah?
We're coming. We're coming.
Y esto, señores, es Mandala Chain, un proyecto que, como nos está diciendo, pretende ser una especie de relay chain del día de mañana para los gobiernos. Sinceramente, creo que me gusta mucho la visión que tienen. Es un proyecto bastante pequeño al día de hoy, que tiene mucho potencial de crecimiento por esa misma razón. Y yo les pregunto, si asumimos que la blockchain el día de mañana también va a llegar a las instituciones, ¿por qué no empezar por Polkadot? Muchas gracias, señores, por estar un día más aquí. No olvides dejarte tu super like. Por aquí abajo tendrás las redes sociales, tanto de Michael, las de Republik DAO, también las de Mandala Chain, incluso del grupo de Telegram en caso de que te quieras unir. No olvides activar la campanita y, como siempre, nos vemos en el próximo vídeo.